Your life, your wahala, your breakthrough, idea. Welcome to the chat room.
This no be ordinary place. Now a solution they show face. LadyMary they lead the way. With guests we go blow your brain. Talk your matter make we solve 'em. No judgment, just love and wisdom. We they discuss, we they learn. Every episode you go feel the burn. The chat room. Now here we define the way. The chat room.
Oh yes.
We go talk and clear, no delay. No delay. It's interact.
You're on mute.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to you all. It would help if I unmute myself, right? All right. My name is LadyMary Boadu, and I am your host for the Chat Room platform dedicated to resolving daily life issue. Over here, we talk about things that will benefit your family, my family, and the community at large. We are here to do nothing but to educate and give out information, again, which will benefit you. Tonight, I'm here with my co-host, Nanaya Sarpong. She will do her own introduction, and then we'll have our guest for today also go ahead and introduce himself. Nanaya, would you go ahead and introduce yourself, please? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to the Chat Room Show, another Sunday. Happy February, happy Black History Month, happy Heart Health Month. We're excited for this month and all of our discussions ahead. As you already know, for those who have been watching, my name is Nanaya Sarpong, and I am a mother, a wife, an entrepreneur, financial manager by career, and I'm excited for another discussion.
Dr. James, would you introduce yourself first? Thank you.
Hi, my name is James. I am originally from Ghana. I am a doctor by profession and an entrepreneur. I live in Malta. That's why I practice medicine, and I am focused mainly in building healthcare. Well, medically, I'm focused mainly in acute healthcare, acute diagnostics, and also building healthcare systems.
Thank you so much. So as we all know, today we are looking at how our environment and then our lifestyle affect, our heart health. And so without wasting much time, before Doctor takes over, please, if you're just joining us, just copy the link and share it to your friends, your neighbors. Just share it to your family members that you believe could benefit from our discussion tonight. As always, is educational, very informative, so do well to share. Please go ahead and take us through.
Okay, so it's going to be a very short one. It's just going to be a quick talk, and then we'll have a lot of Q&As, a lot of question and answers, where we would kind of address every question which will be asked. So, how environmental and lifestyle affect cardiovascular health? First of all, let's just start off by thinking of it this way. The cardiovascular system basically consists of your heart and all the blood vessels which you have, right? So if you think of your body as a car, you think of the heart, if you think of your body as an internal combustion engine car, because electric cars don't have engines, you think of the heart as the engine of the car. So it basically kind of pumps everything all throughout. The heart is a muscle. So like every other muscle, I know we think of the heart like as a very special organ. It is a really, really special organ. But then in basic terms, you could just think about it as a muscle, right? Unfortunately, 1/3 of all deaths in the world are from cardiovascular disease. So 1 out of 3 of all deaths as a result of some form of heart injuries, ischemic heart disease, some form of a stroke, and what have you. It's also very sad that is about 45% to actually 1 out of 2 deaths in people of the Black race is actually from a cardiovascular cause. So I'm sure we all have an idea about this, right? But then there are two major things that I just want to talk about. There are risk factors, okay? So the risk factors of you being exposed or you being at a risk of having a cardiovascular event, there are two major risk factors. There are the modifiable risk factors and there are the non-modifiable risk factors. So the non-modifiable risk factors are things that you have no control over. They are things that you cannot change, right? So those are the fixed factors, and then the modifiable are the controllable. So the non-modifiable, that's just increase in age. The older you get, the higher your chances of getting a cardiovascular event. If you are a male, you have a higher chance of getting cardiovascular event. If you are Black and if you have a family history, Blacks and Asians have a higher chance of getting a cardiovascular event. And if, unfortunately, there have been some cardiovascular events in the past in your family, then you have a higher chance. So, for example, if your parents or your immediate relatives suffer from hypertension, you have a higher chance of also being hypertensive. If someone in your family suffered or suffers from heart conditions, you have a higher chance of also having that. So those are the things that you cannot really do much about. It's not your fault, right? And then you have the controllable factors. And the controllable or the modifiable factors, you've got things like obesity, which is weight. You have non-hereditary high blood pressure. So there are people who inherit high blood pressure, and then there are people who develop it by not inheriting it. So people who develop high blood pressure are also at risk. Smoking, high cholesterol, diabetes, physical inactivity, sedentary lifestyle. And these are the major factors which can cause cerebrovascular diseases. If anyone has any question at any point, you can just type it in the chat box, and then we can just keep them on the side and we can just get back to that. So we start off by the non-modifiable risk factors, right? So age, there's nothing you can do about your age, really. Once you're about 45, you'll go above 55, you're going 65, 75. Your body is a machine. If you think about it as a machine, then you actually get weaker wear and tear starts setting in as a machine. You could do things to slow down the process, but it's nature. You can't really do much about it. Family history and genetics, you can't fight against family history and genetics. People from Southeast Asia, people from the Caribbeans, and African people have a higher chance of getting CVAs more than white people. Now, this is the most important part of the talk. That is the modifiable risk factors.
And I have a question already, though.
Yeah.
Because with what you said, Africans. Okay. I believe that. So let's take, for instance, Ghanaians.
Yeah.
We walk a lot.
Yeah.
Though we don't necessarily, go to the gym and all that, but our workout, there's so many different ways and forms of workout. So then how is that? Because you hear doctors saying when you have any cardio issue, work, do your exercises, eat right and all, what have you. So then how so?
Okay, so you just said something very important. You said eat right. Ghanaians do walk a lot. But also God designed our bodies in such a way that almost there are so many things which have storage organs, right? Except fat and oil, except lipids. So lipids are not necessarily stored in a particular organ. They can be stored anywhere. So they could be deposited in your heart, they could be deposited in your arteries, they could be deposited in your veins and stuff like that. Now, these are all kind of chain reactions. So one thing leads to another and leads to another. One of the biggest problems of, say, Ghanaians is the diet. Our food is very, very, how do I put it? Is it
greasy or is it?
Yes. Our food stuff is greasy and also a bit high on the carbohydrate side. So
high in fat.
Yes. Yeah, we have very high fat diet. And so what happens is that these fatty molecules just get deposited at anywhere at all in the body, right? It could be in the arteries, it could be in the veins. And always think about it this way. Think of the arteries as having a pipe, a hose. Remember when we're kids, there were these kind of pipe holes that you connected to the tap, and then when you open it, it just flows out, right? You see, the tap water will be flowing out at a particular speed, but then when you block the opening of it with your hand, it flows faster. That's how sometimes your vessels work. So think of that blockage as a piece of fat, which is just in your artery somewhere. So then the blood moves faster, right? And so your blood pressure would go up. It may not be from you being sedentary, but that would be totally from your choice of food. So yeah, and also, naturally speaking, if you look at the morphology of Black people, if you take a Black woman, the average Black woman, and you take the average white woman, you see the genetics, God created us in such a way that we tend to have more adipose and fatty deposits than the regular, than people from other races and ethnicity. So yeah, I don't know if I've answered your question, Lady Mary.
You have answered my question.
Okay.
But go ahead.
We're already at a disadvantage, basically.
Yeah, we're already at a disadvantage.
Wow.
So
So-
that's also.
And then you mentioned, I wrote something, you said that males are even more higher, at a more
Yeah.
higher risk. Is that right?
Yeah.
Can you go a bit into details?
Okay, so from the basic physiology of men and women, our bodies function differently, right? The average heart rate of a man at base is higher than the average heart rate of a woman. The average food consumption, the average energy consumption of a man, the basal metabolism rate of a man is higher than that of a woman. So the male body, as it is physically, tends to age faster as well, physiologically. I mean, the females, so don't get me wrong on this. When a female hits menopause, then that's a whole different story, because then you have the whole endocrine system and the hormones setting in, and so you get the wrinkles and all those kind of stuff. This has nothing to do with that. This is just if you take a 20-year-old woman and a 20-year-old man and the way their bodies function. And that is why if you put a 20-year-old man and a 20-year-old woman to kind of run a marathon, the woman, normal physiologically speaking, would tire out faster than the man, because the male body naturally tends to work that way. So because of that, it puts men also at a disadvantage.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Nana, do you have any question before he continues?
I did have a question, but I think I kind of lost my train of thought. Going back to, I think you did answer it though. It was more about why Africans or Blacks are more sustainable to getting, I guess, heart disease instead of other race. I think that's what you said, but you did touch on the reason why. And then you going back to the nutrition aspect of it. We have this notion, especially from back home, being from the African community, that our foods are really, in a way, because a lot of our nutrition comes from like the natural sources, right?
Yeah.
So it's I guess let's try and clarify what exactly makes our food maybe unhealthy in a way. You did say carbs, but again, when you walk a lot, if you eat carbs, you're going to burn it, right? And I think that's a lot of our mentality, that if you're eating and you're walking, then you're burning it. So why are we still at a disadvantage, even though we're eating like natural source and exercising in a way a lot?
Thank you. A lot of people ask me this question. There is also one very important factor about diet and cardiovascular health. Again, think of your body like a machine, right? And your body has to use everything which comes in, has to process it. So it's very important that people do not eat late at night. All right. It's very important that people allow their bodies time to digest and use up the food that you put in. So you tend to find a lot of people who would tell you that, oh, I finish work every day at 7 p.m. or at 8 p.m. I get home at 9 or 9:30. I'm gonna eat at 9 or 9:30, and they're gonna eat these kind of greasy foods and all this kind of stuff, and then go to bed at 10 or 10:30 or 11. So what happens? Your body does not get, you'd be of the notion that because you probably work a lot during the day, you're gonna burn up everything. But no, digestion still happens while you're sleeping. So you get a lot of unused up calories and a lot of fatty stuff in your body, which will then be deposited anywhere. They could just go anywhere in the body. So if we just focus on the fat, there are times in autopsies where you would literally see fatty tissue, say in someone's heart or in an artery, which can block an artery literally, and then it could lead to a stroke and stuff like that. So yeah, the time of eating is as important as what we eat.
Sadly speaking, though.
Myself. Okay.
Yeah, you were muted. You were talking, but you were muted. Did you want to come in before I go? Or I should go ahead.
Go ahead, since you started already.
I don't want you to forget. So you go ahead. I'm gonna write my question down.
I'll try not to forget.
You sure? Okay.
Okay, so I should go?
Yeah, go ahead. I don't want you to forget. I'll write mine down.
Okay. So talking about the eating late. Okay, so there's this whole notion of, it's a type of diet where people are eating like once a day, right? To manage their, it's called OMAD, like OMAD. It's a type of diet to manage their calorie intake, right? So when you're talking about eating late, if you're someone that goes all day and don't eat anything, and then you eat dinner, a healthy, I'm saying healthy, but I don't mean healthy like a balanced diet. I'm saying like you eat like a big amount of meal. Let's say someone from Ghana, you come home and you eat like rice and stew with some chicken or something like that. Like a big amount.
Hello, Nanaya. I think your line is breaking.
Nanaya, your network is really bad. You're going in and out.
Hungry.
Nanaya, you're going in and out. Can you hear us?
Oh, sorry. Did y'all hear me?
Yeah,
not exactly.
You stopped at where you were saying that if someone eats a healthy meal at night.
So let's say you fasted all day, you come home and you eat like one meal, but your meal is like rice and stew and chicken, but it's a good portion. It's not like a small portion, it's a good portion. For somebody like that, what would you say?
So, okay, so there are two things, right, which we need to focus on. Number one is the portions. The size of the portions are very important. So in as much as you want to have a good meal, it's important not to have a very large meal, right? That's number one. Number two, people do intermittent fasting and people do OMAG and stuff like that. That's fine. It works. But the most important thing about that is the time, is your window of diet. So it's advisable to keep that window in the early hours of the day, midday, or sometime in the early afternoon. So you allow your body time to process everything you've eaten, and then to use it up, rather than just keep going the whole day without eating, and then keeping an hour window at 9 p.m. and just going to bed. I'm sorry about that. And just going to bed at 10 or 11. in that case, it may look like you're doing something really good, but it may actually be a bit more harmful than good. So it is very important that you eat earlier and you allow your body at least about 3 to 4 hours to use up the food.
Someone just sent a text. It says that, can you ask him how long it takes for fufu to digest?
That is a very, very specific question. I mean, generally, it takes about 3 to 4 hours for food, and this is general food. This
General
is not
food.
specific. This is the average. So some food stuff can take shorter than 3 hours. Others, I believe, can also take more than 4 hours. Unfortunately, I don't have a very specific answer for fufu, but that's something we could research and probably come out with the finding shortly.
You know, I was laughing as I read the question because I was going to say that 4 hours is for normal food that we
Yeah.
know. And then imagine the thickness of fufu, the
Yeah.
soup that's added, plus all the accessories. And I call it accessories, I think. The extra meat, the extra protein. So please, this is what I was gonna add. It was more of like a comment.
Early. Eat it early. If you're gonna eat it, maybe eat it for breakfast like they do in Ghana.
Well, yeah, maybe that would help because then you have the whole day, right? Because I know people do that. They'll eat banku and fufu and things like that. But anyways, I was going to say that as sad as it is, some of us are guilty, and that's the beauty of this chat room where we don't come here to act like we are, we know it all, we are doing it all right. As sad as it is, we are all guilty somehow. We don't eat right. I have this thing where I tell my friends that there was no salad in Jaso there wasn't salad in Jaso when I was growing up, which is my hometown. And so when you give me salad, I make all these excuses not to eat them. But now, I mean, I'm trying to have a balance for my kids. Okay. So imagine we preach to our children, eat right, do this, but you, the mom, you're not doing it. You're telling your children, eat vegetables, they're good for you, eat fruits, but they don't see you do it. So mom, you want us to eat these things, but you're not eating it. So there has to be practical to where if you're doing it, then at least they see a reason to want to do it because you're doing it. But cases where you're not doing it because all you want is your fufu and your banku and your kenke and fish and everything else, and then you want them to eat healthy, it's not gonna work. So that's what I was gonna say, that as sad as it is, I think that we can all do better. Now, 2026, my goal though is to really eat healthy. I'm telling you, I'm factoring in more vegetables. I'm still struggling with fruits. I'll eat banana and it has to have peanuts. I know. But I'm trying, so I think that, this is an educational platform. We're all trying to do our best, because you mentioned something though. If you have a family, like parents or whatever, that died from cardio issue, chances are you can also get it, right? Yeah. So my next question was going to be, so how about my parents? Maybe my parents have it or got it, and then I'm eating healthy, exercising, doing everything, right?
Yeah.
Still, does that still give me the possibility of having a high chance of a cardio issue?
So that's actually something down there that we'll talk about. But since you've brought it up, let's just get it out of the way. So you see, your parents having it does not condemn you that you're automatically going to get it. It just says that your chances of getting it is higher than someone whose parents did not suffer from any cardiovascular issue. Sure. So, your chance is a percentage, right? So let's say you had if you had both parents, okay, your mom and your dad both have high blood pressure, for example, you have a very high chance of also developing high blood pressure. And high blood pressure can actually be made worse by salt intake and lifestyle, right? So if you're aware of these things, then what you do is that you try to counter it. So you do things in a way that you are conscious of the fact that you cannot live your life like a regular person. You have to always do things which would take you farther away from being hypertensive. So some things as simple as eating less salt would go a long way to decrease your chances. So you have to know that you have this risk in your family. And so you can't eat the same amount of salt like anyone else. I mean, you can, but then you doing that means that you are kind of giving yourself a sure sentence that you're going to also develop it sometime in your life. But you can actually make your chances less by choosing some lifestyle decisions.
There's something that you touched on, and I want us to look at it because I think, at least I've witnessed certain people do it in my family. Things like adding salt, extra salt to already cooked meal. Can we talk about that?
Oh yeah. That is, it depends on the quantity of salt. Right.
Okay.
Yes. Salt in itself is made of two substances, NaCl, sodium chloride, right? And that increases your blood pressure. Let me just put it this way. The amount of salt you have in your body is directly proportional to your blood pressure. So the amount of salt you have in your body increases the chances of your blood pressure going up. Okay. And think about it this way. This is not exactly how it works, but this is probably the easiest way to make you understand. Think of your bodily fluids as any type of soup or any type of fluid, right? And then the less dense it is, the easier it is to move. The denser it is, the much more difficult it is to move around. Now, the body needs the blood. So even if the blood is kind of thick or less thick or whatever, the blood has to move. For the blood to move, if it's thick, then it has to move with a higher force. There has to be a higher force to move the blood around the body. So then the pressure of the blood across the vessels would be much higher, right? So extra salt may be good for your tongue, but it's very, very bad for your heart and for your blood pressure. In fact, whenever we diagnose a patient with high blood pressure, the first thing we tell them is to cut out salt. Before we even start them on medications, is to cut out salt.
Sometimes I wish some of these things can be like drummed in the heads of some of our people, because I mean, okay, Nana is back. Nana, because I see people eating. I mean, after the meal is cooked and like adding the extra salt, and I look at it like, you know. But thank you for addressing that. Nanaya, do you have a question?
So I had to relocate because my connection, I was in the basement and the connection was really bad. So that's why I got off.
That's
but
fine.
Continue.
Someone have a question here. Clara says she loves her seasoning.
No comments on that one.
Okay, Miss Clara, this is where we left you. We just left you hanging. Okay, yes.
The seasoning is fine.
I guess it's the same as what you said, though. I mean, it has salt and all kinds of things in there. So, but go ahead. Go ahead. You're going to say something.
It depends on the type of seasoning, you know. It's mainly the salt that is the biggest problem. So, yeah.
Someone has a comment here on WhatsApp. I'll read it real quick.
Okay.
It says, "Hello, LadyMary. Good discussion. I love the education. You're welcome." It says that, can you have him address, my husband has BP, yet he eats a lot of processed food. Can you have him address the issue of BP and then canned foods? What is his take on it? Please go ahead.
Okay. So, this is a very good question. It's a very broad thing when you talk of canned foods, right? Because canned foods can be anything from like corned beef, which is very high in salt, to, I don't know, like
Sardines or canned milk.
Or canned milk, which is not very high in salt, right? So canned food generally does not necessarily mean that it's very high in salt, okay? However, a lot of studies now have shown that processed foods and ultra processed foods are not very good for your health. It's much better to have natural food than to have processed food. So look, also it depends on the level of the different stages of high blood pressure, right? So I mean, the normal high blood pressure should be 120/80. Someone whose blood pressure is 150 is different from someone whose blood pressure is 200. So there are different stages of high blood pressure. I think that every case is different. So we have to take your husband's case and kind of see exactly what is happening. Is he on any medications? Is he not on any medications? What's his weight? What's his BMI? How is his lifestyle? It's not dealing with these kind of things is not like a black and white situation, because there are so many factors which go into it. But diet is definitely one of the major factors which go into it. So when he eats, what he eats, definitely is something he has to look at. But I cannot really say A, B, or C because I don't understand the entire situation.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for tuning in. If you're just joining, no, 1 minute. If you are just joining in, we just ask that you click on the share button. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, please share. I'm sure that someone can see it on your wall on Facebook, and then they can benefit from tonight's discussion. Thank you. Nana, you had a question. Go ahead.
No, can we say that as a general rule, to her question, if you have high blood pressure, it's not advisable to eat fast food on the regular, because already it's not good for your health to begin with, right? So for someone who is at even a higher risk, it's not advisable to let that be like your main course, like every day for lunch. Even like once a day is still excessive, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Especially if
as
you live
much
in
as
America.
no, but as much as possible, that's why it's called fast food. As much as possible, you don't have to eat fast food so much. So you only take that if your back is against the wall and you need something really quick. It shouldn't be your routine. It shouldn't be at all. Because you said something, except you live in America. Don't come for my head, okay?
I said
I'm gonna say
especially if
something.
you live in America. Because it's
Especially if you
even
live in
worse here.
America. Yeah, don't come for my head. When you live in other parts of the world, right, and then you travel to the US, there is one thing which hits you in the face everywhere you go, and that's the weight of people, right? Like it's so obvious. And like when you get out of the US and you go to another place, you can see like the weight of people, not the weight of people, the size of burgers, the size of chicken, the size of, like everything.
Yes.
Everything, even our roads.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy that it's thrown at you everywhere. And when you watch TV in the US, you see lots of adverts of, food, and unfortunately most of them are not very nice foods. And then you see an advert of a weight loss medication,
Yes.
So,
Isn't that nonsense?
yes. So basically, the environment in the US kind of encourages you subconsciously to eat unhealthy. So you have to make an extra effort to eat healthy if you live in the US.
Yeah.
I know people say that oh, we're so busy, there's no time for this, there's no time for that, blah blah blah. I understand, but that's not an excuse. You only have one life. And if something bad happens to you, if you lose your health, everything else is not going to matter anymore. You won't be able to run up to the job that you're killing yourself for. And for the people who have families, especially the mothers and fathers, I know you care about your children so much, but if you don't look after yourself, you can't give what you don't have. If your health fails you, your children will be left without a mother, or your children will be left with a sick mom, and you don't want that for your children. Or your children will be left without a father, or your children will be left with a sick dad, and you don't want that for your children. So when you think about it, it's very important for you to put all these things into consideration. Okay, and then just take that 30 minutes out, take that hour out, and eat healthy. Just as you think of what to wear to work or what to do for the week and blah blah blah, it's important for you to also plan out your meals and make sure that you are eating healthily, because you have only one body. Your body is a gift. It's a gift that God has given you. So if you look after it properly, it will serve you well. But if unfortunately you don't look after it properly, it may not be able to serve you well. And the day you need your body the most is actually the day your body decides to shut down. So, yeah.
Just a comment on WhatsApp. She says that I think a better alternative is for parents to start making these fast foods in their own home. That way, you know exactly what is going into the snack you're making for your children, because at that point you're making it yourself. So make sure that if your children want chicken nuggets, make it at home. Maybe find other alternatives and throw a lot of vegetables in there, grind it up and make it for them. Thank you for your comment. We appreciate it. Okay, someone has a question. It says that she's asking about diabetes, but because we're talking about, well, I'll just ask anyway, since it's educational. It says that you talked about heart health and then canned food. How about diabetic patients and canned food?
Okay. So since you've just thrown in diabetes, right? There is the trinity. Okay, this is not in any book. I'm just making it up. There's the trinity of morbidity in a lot of people who are blacks, right? Those are the things which kill a lot of black people. Obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease. These are the three things. And if you have all three of them happening together, then that's the perfect recipe for disaster. Unfortunately, it's also very common that you have people having, because all of them have the risk factors are very similar, and the things which cause them to happen are also very similar, like lifestyle. The lifestyle issues which cause them to happen are very similar. So diabetes is, there are two types of diabetes mainly. There's type 1 diabetes and type 2. Type 1 diabetes is by birth, that your body does not produce enough cells which produce insulin. So it's not your fault, it's hereditary. And then the type 2 is what you develop, okay? That's your body's ability to process the glucose is impaired. And so your body cannot use up the glucose as much, cannot process it. It cannot really break it down as it's supposed to. So because it's not able to break all of it down, you have a lot of the glucose running about in your blood. Okay, that's why when you test the urine, you find glucose in it, you find glucose in the blood, you find glucose everywhere. One of the major causes of diabetes type 2, think about it this way. There are some specific cells in your body, in the islet of the Langerhans. Think of them as, so again, like your body is a machine, right? Think of it that God has programmed those cells to process, I'm just inventing, maybe 20 kilograms of sugar in your lifetime. Okay. Or 20 pounds of sugar in your lifetime. Now, if you consume the 20 pounds of sugar within 10 years, those cells would expire after 10 years. If you consume the 20 pounds of sugar in 60 years, the cells will expire after 60 years. If you consume the 20 pounds of sugar in 100 years, the cells will expire in 100 years. So, but unfortunately, we don't know exactly, how much sugar they can process in each individual because they are different. And so once you reach the lifespan of those cells, that's it, they're gone. Bye-bye. And then your body's ability to break down glucose is impaired, right? And that's basically what happens mainly in type 2 diabetics. You know, they take in a lot of sugar-based products. The body uses them, and then the body's ability to break down the sugar is now depleted. In some people, it even happens in their 20s or in their 30s, 40s, 50s. It can happen at any point in time. Obviously, if you're diabetic, they would educate you and walk you through the things you have to eat and not to eat, lifestyle and all those kind of stuff. But again, canned foods generally have a very high content of sugar, and so it doesn't do very well with diabetics. And diabetes in turn leads to hypertension, which is a cardiovascular condition and can lead to so many heart issues too. So they work hand in hand. They are very good friends.
Someone has a comment. It says that, can you please, thank you for clarifying that. It says, can you have him talk a bit about heart murmur and how dangerous that is?
About what?
There's a condition called heart murmur, MUR.
Yeah. Okay. So this is going to be slightly technical. Okay. So basically, the heart has two valves. All right. The heart has 4 chambers. There are the atriums in the top, and then you have the ventricles in the bottom. The ventricles are the ones which kind of constrict and pump the blood out of the heart. And then the blood comes into the heart through the atriums, right? So all the blood in your body drains into the heart, and then they go out into the lungs, gets oxygenated, and then go out again. Now there are 2 main valves in your body, in your heart. You have actually there are 3 valves that we will talk about here. You have the aortic valve, okay, which is the valve. It's basically, you know how valves work in mechanics and stuff like that, or don't you? I would like to think that everyone knows how they work, or I'll try and just let me see what I can find. So say this paper, let's assume this is an outlet, right? And then this paper only lets the blood flow this way, and it shouldn't let it go backwards. So it only goes this way, right? So there are a few valves in the body which works that way. They open and they close, right? One of them, some of them open and close to prevent the blood to go back into the atrium when they are being pumped from the ventricle. And then there are some of them too which prevents the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood from mixing up, all right? Now, when a doctor listens to your heart, they should hear 2 beats. It goes lapped up, and that's S1 plus S2. So one of the clicks, I don't know how valves work. Okay. Oh, great. So you see the car tire? When you're pumping your car tire, right? The air goes only one way. It doesn't come back. There's a valve there. So the valve allows the air to only move in one direction, and it doesn't allow it to come back. When the air tries to come back, it closes. It can only move in one direction. That is a valve. You have things like that in your heart, and you have things like that in your veins too. So the blood flows only in one direction, and then it doesn't go back. When you have a murmur, there are so many types of murmurs. A murmur basically means that there is a sound in the heart which is not supposed to be there. And the sounds, the murmurs could be so many. It could be that a valve is not closing properly. It could be that a valve is weak, and then the valve is there's something called regurgitation, where the blood goes and you get bits of it coming back. You know, it's like when you eat and then sometimes you belch or you burp and some of the food comes back up. That's regurgitation. So there are some times where people get regurgitation in their heart. There are some times where there's a condition called ASD, atrial septal defect, where the valve which prevents the blood from mixing up, the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood from mixing up, also gets a defect. And so a murmur just means that there is a sound which is not supposed to be there. And that sound could be because of so many things. A murmur could be harmless. There are some murmurs that we can just hear it and we know that there's something there which is not supposed to be there, but we would actually do nothing about because it's not life-threatening. It's not going to harm you or anyway. And then there are some murmurs too that we could hear today and we'll schedule for surgery tomorrow because it's life-threatening. So it depends on the type of murmur. It depends on what is causing the murmur and how dangerous or risky whatever is happening is. But hopefully, whichever murmur you've been told about is not life-threatening.
Yeah. A nice one. Nana?
Yeah, that was good. Analogy and how you showed us how that the heart valve works. Touch about when somebody has like a blockage. Because I've heard in situations where somebody will have like a blockage in their heart. But what is that about, and how, like, what does that lead to?
Okay.
And what can prevent that?
Okay. So remember from the very beginning, I said that the heart is a muscle. All right. And so you have to understand that the heart itself needs blood to function, right? That is one thing people don't look at. There are some small vessels around the heart. They are the coronary arteries, where when the blood is being pumped out of the heart, the first bit of the blood actually goes to the heart itself. So the heart nourishes itself with the blood it pumps out first before the blood gets gone somewhere else. Now, there is something called ischemia, all right? Ischemia is basically the lack of oxygen to a particular organ in the body. When oxygen does not go to a particular part of the body, the cells die, the tissues die off, right? And so when there's a blockage in any of the arteries which supply the heart, unfortunately, the part of the heart which it supplies is going to die off. So the part of the muscle will die off. And that is what is called a myocardial infarction, or an MI. Simply put, a heart attack. So you get a heart attack when the muscular activity of the heart fails because the heart is not receiving enough blood to itself because there's a blockage in one of the arteries which surround the heart. And in most cases, it is either caused by some form of embolism or some form of fat. So you get a small piece of fat which blocks an artery, and then blood cannot go there. And the part of the heart that this artery supplies dies off. And so even when it could be fixed, potentially, so in some cases, it could be fixed based on where you are and whether you find it or not. Unfortunately, in diabetic patients, their nervous system is also affected, and so they don't feel pain as much as regular people. So a diabetic patient could get a heart attack and not even know it because they don't feel the pain at all. And we would only see it much later on. Yeah, we could see it on an ECG or something like, this is an old MI. So it's an old infarction. Now, the problem is that when a part of the heart muscle dies off, the ability of the heart decreases. So that part is dead. You can't get it back. So instead of it operating now at 100%, it's now operates at, I don't know, maybe 60 or 70%. So that's a heart attack. How do you identify a heart attack? In most cases, someone would come in and tell you that it's usually with a chest pain. See, you get a pain in your chest. The pain can radiate to your left shoulder, to your jaw. You sweat, your heart is beating faster than normal. But something really, really important in heart attacks is that the person will tell you that there's a sense of impending doom. they tell you, I think I'm gonna die. Something bad is happening. They tell you that something is wrong, but they don't know exactly what it is. But the pain is so crazy, the pain is so bad that a lot of them tell you that this is the worst pain I've ever had in my life. That's a myocardial infarction. If you're lucky enough, you would get something else, which is actually called an angina, which is not a myocardial infarction, but it's a baby myocardial infarction. Let's put it that way. So in that case, the heart muscle does not die off, right? But then there's a brief time where enough blood is not. There's a brief time where the heart muscle does not get enough blood, and so it goes without blood for a bit, and then now the perfusion, which is the blood flow, is restored. So people will just have some kind of pain and it will disappear, and they tell you, I get the pain when I'm climbing the stairs, or I get the pain when I'm running after my kid, or I get the pain when but then that's not permanent. It comes and it goes. But then when it becomes permanent, it's a heart attack. Then the muscle dies off and does not recover from there. And do not confuse a heart attack.
So does that mean like?
Yeah.
No, he was saying something. You can finish up. Yeah, you're saying do not confuse a heart attack with.
Do not confuse a heart attack with now I just lost track.
Is it shortness of breath or what? Or
no, I mean, you have shortness of breath when you have a heart attack too, but shortness of breath doesn't necessarily mean it's a heart attack. It could be so many things. But I'm saying that do not confuse a heart attack, which is a myocardial infarction, with because the heart has the muscular system and the electrical system, right? So a heart attack is a failure on the muscular system, and then there is the failure of the electrical system, which is called a cardiac arrest.
Okay.
So when someone arrests, when there's a cardiac arrest,
that's two different things.
Yeah, there are two different things.
Cardiac arrest and then a heart attack.
Yeah. Okay. A cardiac arrest, the heart itself is fine. The muscle of the heart is fine. But it's the electrical activities which causes the heart to beat, which is impaired. So the heart muscle is fine, but it's not beating as it should. But then with a heart attack, the muscle is not fine. There's a blockage somewhere. The blockage can be fixed. Now with modern technologies, there's something called a PCI, where your doctors will just probably make a small incision in your wrist or in your thigh and go in with a small wire, go all the way to your heart and remove the blockage. And then they'll put you on some medications which will make your blood thinner, but you'll be fine.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. If you're just tuning in, you're welcome to the chat room, a platform dedicated to resolving daily life issue. Over here, it's all about education. Our discussions are informative, educative. And so I'm glad that you are watching us and tuning in today. If you're watching from YouTube or Facebook, thank you once again for tuning in. We just ask that you share as you join, share, like, comment, and follow so that you can have access to all of the various discussions that we host or hold here. Today we have with us Dr. James, and we are privileged to have him. As you can see, lots of great information being provided. Nanaya, I know you have a question before he finished, so you can go ahead and ask your question. But somebody's saying that. So is Dr. James trying to say that, in short, Ghanaians or Africans should not eat fufu for breakfast, jollof rice for lunch, and then wache for dinner, or kenke for dinner?
Okay, let's put it this way. Well, medical sciences is saying that, not Dr. James, okay? The data and the information has proven that food which are very high in fat are not really very healthy for your body and for your cardiovascular health, especially if you eat them late in the day.
Thank you so much. I guess you're like some of us, right? You eat wache, jollof rice, kinky, and banku in a day without fruits or veggies. All right, we are learning. There's a question on the screen for you, though.
It says, is too much heart palpitations a symptom for a heart attack? So heart attack is very acute. It's very short. Okay. Usually when you get a heart, it takes about 15 minutes for the heart muscles to die off. So if you get a heart attack, it's very short. You don't have, it's not going to last for so long. If it's not a very bad heart attack, you'll be fine. But if it's a very bad heart attack, you would not survive it for a very long time for you to live on with palpitations, unfortunately. If it's not very bad, it happens and it's gone. It's not in the process of having a heart attack, you'd have palpitations, yes. But there are also so many other factors, which is there's a big topic that we haven't touched yet, obesity. Which palpitations can mean a lot of things. A heart attack is one of the things that could be happening, but palpitations on its own does not signify a heart attack. With heart attacks, you'd have chest pain, palpitations, shortness of breath. The pain will radiate to your shoulder. The pain will radiate to your jaw. You'd be sweating, and there's the sense of impending doom, where you know that something bad is happening. Like they would tell their friends or whoever's with them, I'm gonna die. I think I'm going to die. And you usually see them, like involuntarily, people just go on to, clench their chest. It just happens. Or they almost always do that. They almost always hold their chest when they're having a heart attack. And when this happens, ring up the ambulance immediately. Call the ambulance immediately when something like that happens. It's better to call an ambulance and realize that it was not a heart attack than to play about with it and then find out later after the autopsy that it was a heart attack.
Ooh, thank
Is
you
there
for
anything
that.
that can be done at home while you're waiting for the ambulance?
Well, yes. Check to see if you have some aspirin. If you have some aspirin, just throw about 300 milligrams of aspirin into the person's mouth, because aspirin makes the blood thinner.
Thinner.
Yeah.
Did you say 300?
Yeah.
Aspirin.
Yeah, that's a very high dose, but just do it.
How many aspirin pills is that? Is it usually
no
like
idea.
200 or?
It depends on
It depends.
dose of-
Every one of them has
look,
different.
keep aspirin on you. Look on the box and see what milligrams it is. Whatever milligrams it is, make sure you're at least getting in 300.
Yeah. There are two major things that we need to touch on, but I think Nanaya had a question.
Yeah. I was gonna say that even if we don't finish, we have the 15th. Oh, he's okay. We have the 15th. But if you wanna, she said you can go ahead.
Okay, so there's one thing which there's psychosomatism, stress. Stress is actually in recent times, a lot of studies are showing that stress is one of the leading factors of so many deaths of late, because people get really stressed out psychologically, and then that psychological stress translates into their physiological health. So people get really stressed, and then they get palpitations and their blood pressure shoots up, and then they end up having heart disease and all those kind of stuff. So if you're undergoing any form of stress, look, whatever it is, it may not be worth it. Okay, there's nothing which is worth your life. So if there's any form of stress in your life, you may want to take a break, speak to someone. If your job is really stressing you out, you could potentially change it. It's better to be in a job which pays you 60% less than what you have than to stay where you are and end up in your grave. I mean, you would tell me that it's easier said than done. I agree, 100%. It's easier said than done. But these are the realities. These are what the data shows us. So there's that. And the latter part, this is probably the last thing I'll touch on: obesity and overweight. Growing up in a lot of our families.
Doc, hold on. I unmuted myself real quick. Or maybe should I let you? Because I have a problem with when the job places tells you to get your wellness done. And then as thin as I am, they come back telling me that I'm overweight. Nanaya, have you had that happen? The job places will tell you, get your wellness checked, get your examinations done. And then this BMI comes back to say that I'm overweight. I'm like, wait, what?
What's your BMI?
I mean, I haven't done
No,
it.
no, sorry,
Yet,
it's okay. You don't have to say it on air.
No, but I'm like, wait a minute. How am I overweight? But okay, I'll let you go on.
Yeah.
Per our own standards, we're not, but sometimes we are.
Well, I'll touch that. There's a reason for that.
Okay.
I'll touch it. So I'll just give a disclaimer for all of that, right? Think of the reference ranges as shoe sizes, all right? There's no one fits all, even though there are the common grounds, right? So you could say that, oh, everybody's weight is supposed to be X and their height is supposed to be Y. But people know that different people look differently. You know, some people are giants, some people are also short, some people are thin, some people are thick. So realistically speaking, it's a bit unfair to expect all those morphologies to kind of fit into a particular box. So there are times where there are the values, yes, but then there's also the common sense where you see, and you could look at a father, thick, tall. You could look at a mother, thick, tall. You could look at a child who is taller than his or her age. What? Am I going to say that that child is taller than his or her age, so there's a problem? No, there's no problem. The parents are tall. And it could also be the other way. You could have a kid from short parents, and then the kid could be shorter or smaller than his age, you know, because we have the ranges which they have to meet. What if the kid is shorter than his, what do I have to declare him as malnourished? No, because I can see the father, I can see the mother, and they're all small, you know. So there are those, there's no one fit all. So each case is different, you know. So that's one thing that we have to look at. But with obesity, growing up in a lot of homes, in a lot of African homes, let me put it that way, they want you to eat your food. So when you eat your food and you start gaining on weight, your parents are happy. It means you're actually
rich.
yeah. It means you're growing well, you're rich, you know. And when people actually decide to lose some weight, someone could easily ask you, are you okay? Are you sick? Are you suffering from something?
Yeah, what's wrong with
You
you?
know,
Why are you looking
yeah,
so
what's wrong
skinny?
with you? Are you heartbroken? You know, what's happening? So
99 questions.
yeah, coming from that cultural background, we kind of glorify gaining weight, you know, instead of seeing it as potentially an enemy of our health. So most people actually don't see, most people learn about weight management much later on in their lives, because growing up, all they know is that you have to eat, you have to become big, you know, you have to be chubby, you have to look good by being chubby, you know. So that's one thing. Most people stop growing after about between 20 and 25. You don't grow again after 25. So you never grow tall after 25. Your organs have fully developed after that time. And so you can only gain weight in this direction. You cannot go this direction. Now, what that happens is, again, think of your body as a machine, think of your body as a car. Let's say you used to weigh 120 pounds, right? And your heart was pumping for this 120 pounds. After some years, now you weigh 200 pounds. This same heart, this same size of heart, which was pumping for 120 pounds, now has to cater for 200 pounds. How can the heart cater for it? Ideally, it can't. But the body always wants to stay alive, so it will be beating faster than it should have, you know, so that it would be able to. That's my other sister. That's
Yeah.
So there's Clara and Frida. This is Frida. So, the same heart, which was catering for 120 pounds, has to sort out 200 pounds of weight. And it's the same size of heart. It's not just the heart, your lungs, your kidneys, all your organs, the liver, they have to deal with this new
The new weight.
bigger load. Yeah, the new weight. So they go into an overdrive mode. They work much more than they should have. That's why you see obese people breathing shallowly, because they have to breathe much faster than they were previously. And they always tell you that my heart is beating faster than normal. Of course your heart is beating faster than normal, because your heart is trying to cater for the new weight. And so
It's
for the
supporting
heart
a
to
bigger
be,
load.
yeah, supporting a bigger load. And for that to happen, the blood pressure also goes higher, because the blood has to move faster than it's used to, right? So people don't really think about this in this way, but by becoming overweight or becoming obese, you are really sentencing yourself to a lot of health problems.
Wow. So hear
That's
me.
good.
I
That's a good way to put it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, very good. But I was gonna say that here I am trying to get the weight back from
Gain weight.
pregnancy. Yeah. Because
Don't do it.
no, but Nanaya, I think I don't know if it's genetics. So Dr. James, Nanaya is my cousin, and I don't think we have a lot of heavyweight people in our family. I have an issue. Am I not seeing them? You're not heavyweighted.
You're not seeing them.
Okay. So I have my mom has some type of weight, and so does my dad. But I have an issue with where I'm not keeping my weight on. Because truthfully, I would really, I would want to go back to where when I had
You're
the
doing
baby.
a lot though. You're busy. You're taking
Okay.
care of like 3 little children. You don't have time to gain weight. You're doing a lot.
But I was just going to say that to his point. I guess I shouldn't waste my time trying to gain weight, because then, it's probably not going to be super, super healthy for me.
But you don't also have to be underweight.
I'm definitely not underweight. I just wanted a bit extra flesh.
She wants the thickness.
I get it. Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad thing to desire once it's well within proper checks.
Okay.
Once it's
Someone
well
have a question
within.
for you when you're done, though.
Yeah. So once it's well within the proper checks, there are actually times where we tell patients that they need to put on some weight. I don't think that's your case, because there are some patients who are way underweight, and that's a problem. So in such patients, we actually encourage them to put on some weight. So you may want to.
It does not mean you're healthy. That part too.
Yeah.
Being skinny doesn't mean you're healthy. I'll tell you a joke. I have a friend, right, who is actually very muscular. He's a macho guy. And then he went to the gym one day with his uncle, who is a regular looking guy. He's not like very well built or anything. And then he was saying that no, he doesn't want to go to the gym with his uncle, because his uncle, like, nah, we're not in the same lane, blah, blah, blah. So they ended up not going to the gym. And then one morning, his uncle woke him up to go for a run. And what they realized was that this uncle, who didn't look very athletic, could actually run. My friend stopped after about 5 miles, and his uncle just went on and on and on. And the guy came back home after about 13 miles. So the guy who looked very well built couldn't run more than 5 miles. But the guy who was, who didn't look very well built did 13 miles. So the fact that you may look fit doesn't necessarily mean you're fit.
Yeah.
And the fact that you don't look very well built or fit doesn't necessarily mean that you have bad health.
Yeah, because they don't do the cardio. They just do the weightlifting to kind of bulk up, and they don't do the cardio. And cardio is good.
The question says, is it true that slim people have a higher chance of having a heart attack? versus someone who's obesity?
Scientifically, no. They're
And then,
actually,
so well, let me
actually,
add, okay, because I was going to
so
add the follow-up comment.
so you see, there is the whole thing of if you have high cholesterol, right? If your lipids are high, your chances of getting a heart attack is very high because you can block the coronary arteries and you can get a heart attack. A lot of people think that if you're obese, then you have you have high cholesterol. It's not only the case. There are people who are very slim, but then genetically they have very high cholesterol. So
Yeah.
if you have very high cholesterol, it puts you at a risk of having a heart attack, regardless of whether you're slim or whether you're obese.
Mm.
So that's also something very important that we have to keep there. Please, you can go ahead with your follow-up question.
There was actually a follow-up comment as to why she's asking, because she's heard that sometimes slim people have the tendency to think that they're healthy, and while people of a heavier weight may not be healthy. That's why she was asking that question. So I think you addressed that.
Mm.
Yeah, these things go, there are lots of assumptions, right? Some of them may be true, some of them may not be true. But the very important thing, I think the most important thing for all of us is actually to find out what it is. So just go to your doctor one of these days, if you never do that, and ask them to just do a full, check throughout. They'll do some blood work, they'll see how things are looking for you, they'll see your diabetic ratios, they'll see your lipids, they check the cholesterol, they see how your liver is behaving, they'll see how your kidneys are behaving, they see how your thyroids are behaving, they'll check your weight. They would actually see what is happening and they would take it from there, because these things happen really quick, and sometimes you may not be with someone to call the ambulance, or you may not
Yeah.
receive, but if we see these things very early, there are lots of things which could be fixed. So many things can be fixed by lifestyle modification, and some of them can also be fixed with medications, right? And so it's better that we get these things, we catch them, and then we sort them out, rather than you just walking about not knowing anything is wrong and then just falling down one day.
Talking about medication, let's touch on that real quick. I know our time is far gone, but this is important. When it comes to medication, some people may not believe in taking medication to fix issues. They may think that, oh, I can do it by myself. But at what level should you just go ahead and, do the medication until you can control it?
Okay, that's a very, very, very valid question. I have seen patients whom we never touched with medication. There was a patient, I was actually surprised. He told me in my face, James, give me 6 months. If my cholesterol levels do not drop down, then I'd go on the medication. And so we sent him off to the nutritionist. And in 6 months, we repeated his bloods and everything was perfect. Like he had gone back down to normal levels. And so patients like that, we don't have to give them medication. Once they're going to stick to whichever routine they committed themselves to. Unfortunately, a lot of the things which lead to cardiovascular diseases, most of them are lifestyle choices, right? And so a lot of people are not disciplined enough to actually stick to some lifestyle choices. And then the reality becomes that they are not going to be disciplined enough to follow through. You tell them to do a brisk walk of 30 minutes 3 times a week, they're not going to do it. They'll tell you in your face that they're going to do it, but the data shows that they don't do it. So then in such patients, you just have to put them on medication, which they may not even take as they should. But with the medications, they may take it sometimes. Okay, so that reduces their risks. Also, if you have a patient, let's say the normal blood pressure is supposed to be 120/80, right? And then the blood pressure is 135/91. We can play about with it. But if the blood pressure is 180/120, it's a ticking time bomb. we will not play about with it. So it depends on the values we see and how early or how late you are in the negative progress of your condition.
Wow, that's some good information. I love it. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate your time. He's going to come back on the 15th, and so we'll work on getting the flyers out early, so at least others are informed ahead of time. Again, if you're just tuning in, thank you for tuning in. This is the chat room, a platform dedicated to resolving daily life issue. It's all educational and informative. We are glad to have you here with us tonight. Naya, do you have any comments? We are actually 30 minutes into our time, but I
don't have a comment. Well, I don't have a question, but thank you for coming. This was very informative and educational. I know I learned a lot, and just let's take our health seriously. One thing that I preach is getting checked up. Please get your checkup annually. Whatever the doctor tells you to do it. It's not your work. It's not worth it. Nothing is worth your life. And really, if you have no life, then was it really all worth it? So take your health very serious. Let it be a priority. Get checked out. There's a lot of clinics and free checkups out there. People do free checkups all the time. So not having insurance is not an excuse. Not having money is not an excuse. There's free places that you can get your checkup. If you know your issue, then you can actually do something about it. So let's take it seriously and work on it.
Well, thank you so much. So next week, Sunday, we are looking at nutrition specifically. And so we invite you to join us if your schedule will allow you. And then Dr. James does come back on the 15th. And then the 22nd, we have a pharmacist that's actually coming to speak with us as well. So this is where we end our session for tonight. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation.
It's been a real pleasure.
All right, Nanaya, have a good night. Bye, everyone.
Your life, your wahala, your breakthrough, idea. Welcome to the chat room.
This no be ordinary place. Now a solution they show face. LadyMary they lead the way. With guess where go blow your brain. Talk your matter make we solve them. No judgment, just love and wisdom. We they discuss, we they learn. Every episode you go feel the burn. The chat room. Now here we define the way. The chat room.
Oh yes.
We go talk and clear, no delay. It's interactive, educative, informative, and unapologetic. The chat room.